Hello. So today I'm actually going to be talking about something a little bit different. I'm going to be talking about the Challenger, the rocket back from 1986. The Challenger, most people, we learn this in history. It's a rocket that was only in the air for 73 seconds until it tragically exploded and ended the lives of 7 astronauts. And it was a tragedy across America as we witnessed the lives of 7 great, upstanding people of our society who lost their lives. But today I'm going to talk about a little bit about what happened to lead to the Challenger explosion, what could have been done better, and what we can do as future engineers to be able to better help people with our creations and to forward science. So, in essence, what happened was there's a part on one of the boosters called an O-ring, and it was letting in gases that caused an explosion. And unfortunately, this was actually something that they thought could be a problem, a potential problem. And it was brought up a few times that this could be a problem. The problem was, though, the reason it wasn't listened to is there wasn't enough data to suggest that their fears were valid. So they decided to go ahead and look past that. They decided that they would still launch the rocket because they weren't sure if this fear, there was any validity to it. Studying about this, I had the question in my mind, why? If you knew the risk was out there, why would you still launch it? The reason is very time. It's a political question about time. There were other countries who were rushing to do the exact same thing that NASA was willing to do and trying to do. So as they began to see this time crunch, and they'd already had some delays, they became worried that they were not going to be the first ones. There was also some stuff with a presidential election, State of the Union address, and they began to be scared that they weren't going to meet this deadline. So to then be told of a potential problem that had no backing, that had no data behind it, they didn't see it as a viable threat to withhold launching. So they did launch it. And unfortunately, it was tragic. Then there's the question about one of the engineers named Roger Boisjoli. I'm probably pronouncing that incorrect, but he was an engineer who did see that this could potentially be an error, and he brought it up to management. This is a hard thing to do. He knows of the time crunch. He knows everything going on. So how hard do you push this? He himself wasn't sure of this. He didn't know if this would actually be a problem, but he knew that it could potentially be a problem. So he brought it up a few times. He presented on it. So the question is, what more could he have done? And to be perfectly honest, I think he could have pushed harder towards management, really made it clear that he was scared that there could be a problem and that people's lives were at risk. At the same time, if he was fired from his job, if there hadn't been a problem and they did delay it and they found out that there was nothing there and he did lose his job, he has a family, now what? So as an engineer, he brought up the issue to his superior, which is really all he could do. So what can we learn from this as future engineers? We need to remember that these are people's lives. And we need to do everything we can to ensure that people's safety is first and foremost. We need to make sure people's lives are important. But we also need to make sure we do it in the correct way. We can't step on management toes. We can't try and make a big outcry about it and cause disruption there, because that's just going to tear the company apart. But we need to make sure we're focused and we get our managers and our coworkers focused on the same goal, which is the safety of our fellow human beings, so we don't experience a tragedy like we did in January of 1986.